The Grand Hall of Unity was a marvel of engineering, a colossal dome forged from translucent alloys that shimmered like starlight. Inside, the chamber resonated with a hum of energy as delegates from dozens of alien species prepared for yet another assembly of galactic politics. The air crackled with a mix of tension and condescension as the human delegation entered, dwarfed by the imposing figures of their galactic counterparts. At the forefront of the human contingent stood Captain Ruben Diaz, clad in the crisp, dark uniform of the United Earth Command. His sharp eyes scanned the chamber, taking in the towering forms of the Garnathians, the sleek, crystalline figures of the Elthari, and the reptilian Volthax, who sneered openly at his approach. The Speaker of the Council, an ancient being with flowing tendrils and eyes like molten silver, began the session with a deep, resonant tone. Let us address the matter of the humans, an emerging species requesting recognition as a galactic power. Before Ruben could respond, Councilman Zyrak of the Garnathians rose from his pedestal, his segmented form clicking with each movement. Recognition? For what? Their weapons are crude, their ships are rust buckets, and their tactics are barbaric. A ripple of laughter spread through the chamber. Ruben maintained his composure, though his jaw tightened. Barbaric, yes, chimed Councilman Grackner of the Volthax, his scaled lips curling into a mockery of a smile. They rely on primitive kinetic projectiles, chunks of metal propelled by chemical reactions. Truly, a relic of a bygone era. The holographic display above the chamber lit up, showcasing images of human weaponry, assault rifles, tanks, missiles. The images looked woefully inadequate compared to the elegant plasma arrays and disintegration beams favored by the galaxy's elite militaries. Ruben stepped forward. With respect, counselors, you mistake simplicity for weakness. His voice was calm but firm, carrying an undercurrent of warning. Zyrak waved a claw dismissively. Simplicity is precisely your weakness. Kinetic weapons? Explosives? These tools belong to a time before enlightenment. You cling to them because you lack the intellectual evolution to create anything better. Ruben's lips pressed into a thin line, and yet those tools have kept Earth secure against countless threats. Human ingenuity isn't about elegance. It's about effectiveness. Grackner leaned forward, his reptilian eyes narrowing. Effectiveness? Against whom? The other primitives on your world? You've yet to face a real adversary. Shall we demonstrate? The chamber filled with murmurs. The threat was veiled but clear. Ruben's voice dropped an octave, laden with steel. You're welcome to try. But before you do, understand this. Humans fight with more than just weapons. We fight with determination, with strategy, and with a ruthlessness that no technology can counter. The room quieted, but the tension thickened. The council speaker intervened, raising a tendril to silence further debate. Captain Diaz, humanity's application will be reviewed in due course. For now, we will table this discussion, but the damage was done. As Ruben turned to leave, Grackner leaned over to Zyrak, his words just loud enough for the human to hear. Let them have their illusions. When the Volthax fleet arrives, they'll learn their place. Outside the chamber, Ruben exhaled slowly, his hands clenched into fists. He was no stranger to condescension, but this felt different, more dangerous. Back at the human embassy, his aide, Lieutenant John Roberts, waited anxiously. How did it go, sir? Ruben shook his head. They don't just dismiss us, John, they mock us. They think we're ants beneath their feet. But ants can bite. Roberts hesitated. Do you think they'll act on their arrogance? Ruben's gaze hardened. I don't think. I know. And when they do, they won't be laughing. Far away, on the bridge of a Volthax warship, Councilman Grackner observed the Earth through a glowing holoscreen. Prepare the fleet, he hissed to his captain. Let us show these primitives the price of their audacity. The captain saluted, his talons clinking against his armored chest. It will be done, Councilman. Grackner's lips curled into a sinister grin. And when we return, The Galactic Council will applaud our wisdom in silencing this nuisance once and for all. The scene shifted back to Earth, where Reuben stood alone on a balcony, gazing up at the night sky. He knew the storm was coming. The Council's arrogance had sealed their fate. "We warned them," he muttered to himself. "Now we'll have to teach them." The stars above seemed to glint in silent agreement. The attack came without warning, a cacophony of fire and devastation descending from the heavens. Reuben Diaz, now stationed at United Earth Command Central Hub, stood rigid as the first reports flooded in. Multiple impacts in the Eastern Hemisphere, barked Lieutenant John Roberts, his voice barely masking the rising panic. Confirmed Volthax ships in low orbit, targeting major cities. The command center, buried deep beneath the Rockies, buzzed with frantic energy. Screens flashed with live feeds of destruction. Towering plasma beams carving through skyscrapers, urban centers reduced to molten craters. Civilians scrambled for shelter as the alien fleet's weapons tore through Earth's defenses like paper. Reuben's jaw tightened as he watched the chaos unfold. "They didn't even try diplomacy," he muttered. Roberts turned to him. "Sir, our orbital defenses are failing. They're wiping out satellites and missile platforms faster than we can respond." Reuben snapped out of his thoughts. "Then it's time we stop responding and start fighting. Activate contingency plan Iron Storm, get the railguns online, and prep the EMP payloads. We hit them hard, and we hit them now." Roberts hesitated. "Sir, the EMPs will disrupt our own systems too. They're already disrupted." Reuben cut him off. "If we don't take control of the battlefield, we're done." High above the stratosphere, the Volthax flagship Avrix hovered like a malevolent shadow. Its captain, Commander Calver, watched Earth's futile resistance through his holographic command table. "These humans fight desperately," Calver noted, his reptilian eyes narrowing with contempt. "It almost seems admirable." Councilman Grackner, seated in a command chair beside him, sneered. "Admirable? No, it's pathetic. They thrash about like insects under a magnifying glass." Calver bowed slightly. "As you say, Councilman, their planetary defenses will crumble within hours." Grackner chuckled darkly. "Good. When we return to Viridian Prime, the Council will see the wisdom of our strike. This Earth will serve as a warning to any species foolish enough to defy us." But humanity was not finished. "Railgun batteries locked," reported a technician at United Earth Command, targeting the Avrix. Reuben's voice was calm but firm. "Fire." Far to the north, in a hidden military complex, a railgun the size of a skyscraper roared to life. A tungsten projectile accelerated to unimaginable speeds, streaking through the atmosphere like a comet. It struck the Avrix's energy shields, generating a shockwave visible from the ground. "Direct hit," Roberts shouted, his eyes glued to the monitors. The shield held, but barely. A second railgun fired moments later, slamming into the weakened barrier. On board the Avrix, alarms blared as Grackner was thrown from his seat. "What is this?" Grackner roared. Calver's claws danced over the controls. "Their weapons are unconventional but effective. Shield integrity is down to 40%. Grackner's composure cracked. "Then destroy those guns." On Earth, Reuben moved quickly. "The railguns bought us time, but they won't last long. Launch the EMP payloads." "Launching now," Roberts confirmed. High above the Pacific Ocean, stealth drones released electromagnetic pulse bombs designed to disrupt advanced electronics. The pulses surged through the Volthax fleet, shorting out secondary systems and causing chaos on their bridge decks. The human counterattack had begun in earnest. Surface-to-air missiles streaked upward, exploiting gaps in the Volthax's once impenetrable defenses. Railgun slugs shattered smaller ships, and high-powered lasers scorched hulls. Yet the cost was devastating. Reports from Beijing, Cairo, and Sao Paulo, Roberts said, his voice hollow. "They're gone, sir." Reuben gritted his teeth. The cities were likely targeted as examples, meant to demoralize humanity. Instead, they fueled a burning resolve. "We can rebuild cities," Reuben said coldly, "but only if we survive. Keep hitting them." The tide turned when the Vanguard, humanity's first hybrid warship, launched from its underground hangar. Built in secret and incorporating salvaged alien technology, the Vanguard soared into orbit with unprecedented speed. "Captain Diaz, the Vanguard is online," reported Commander Noah Clark, the ship's captain, over a secure channel. Reuben allowed himself a rare smile. "Then let's give them a taste of their own medicine." The Vanguard's railguns fired in quick succession, their projectiles designed to penetrate alien armor. One by one, Volfax ships faltered, their formations breaking as they scrambled to avoid the devastating strikes. On board the Avrix, Calver's confidence wavered. Their resilience is unexpected. Grackner slammed a clawed fist on the console. "Enough! Deploy the destroyers. Annihilate that ship." But as the Volfax destroyers moved to engage the Vanguard, the humans sprang their final trap. From the moon's surface, previously dormant missile silos erupted with activity, launching nuclear warheads retrofitted with electromagnetic shielding. "Targets locked," Roberts confirmed, a grim satisfaction in his tone. The missiles hit their marks, overwhelming the Volfax fleet's remnants. Explosions dotted the night sky like falling stars, each one signaling humanity's refusal to bow. The Volfax, stunned by the ferocity of Earth's retaliation, began to retreat. The Avrix limped out of Earth's orbit, its shields flickering and hull scorched. Reuben watched the fleeing ships on the command center's main screen. "Let them run," he said, his voice low. This was just the beginning. Roberts turned to him, his expression a mix of relief and awe. "We did it, sir." Reuben nodded but didn't smile. "Not yet. They'll be back. And when they come, we'll be ready." High above Earth, aboard the shattered Avrix, Grackner seethed, his reputation his fleet, humiliated by a species he had considered inferior. "This isn't over," he growled. Commander Calver inclined his head. "No, Councilman. It has only begun." The silence of space was a deceptive calm, broken only by the low hum of the Vanguard as it led the first wave of humanity's retaliation fleet. Against the backdrop of distant stars, the human ships, retrofitted with salvaged alien technology, gleamed with a brutal, utilitarian efficiency. Captain Reuben Diaz stood on the bridge of the Artemis, the command ship of the fleet, his eyes fixed on the holographic display projecting their target, Viridian Prime, the heart of the Galactic Council. "Fleet status?" Reuben's voice was steady, but beneath the calm exterior burned a smoldering determination. "Shields at full capacity," reported Lieutenant John Roberts, standing at his station. "Weapon systems primed across all ships. ETA to Viridian Prime. 15 minutes. Reuben turned to the holographic communication feed displaying Commander Noah Clark aboard the Vanguard. "Clark, you know the drill. No quarter. This isn't just a battle. It's a message." Clark nodded, his jaw set. "Understood, sir. The Council wanted to see what humanity was capable of. They'll get their wish." Viridian Prime came into view, a dazzling jewel of a planet surrounded by an intricate network of orbital defenses. The Galactic Council had long considered it an unassailable stronghold, protected by layers of energy shields and automated weapon platforms. But those defenses had never faced an enemy like this. Reuben raised a hand. "Activate the scramblers. Take out their comms and tracking systems." From the Artemis, a barrage of EMP missiles streaked toward the orbital platforms. The resulting burst of electromagnetic interference sent sparks cascading through the Council's defense network. Command centers on Viridian Prime erupted into chaos as screens flickered and systems failed. On the planet's surface, Councilman Grackner stormed into a war room, his reptilian features twisted in fury. "What is this? How are they here?" A technician stammered, Councilman, they've disabled our orbital arrays. Our fleets are immobilized. Grackner slammed his clawed fist onto the console. This is impossible. They're primitives. The war room doors burst open as Commander Calver entered, his expression grim. Councilman, the humans are not primitives. They're predators. We underestimated them once. We won't survive a second mistake. Above Viridian Prime, humanity's fleet struck with brutal precision. Railgun slugs ripped through orbital defenses like paper, and drone swarms overwhelmed automated turrets. The Vanguard's advanced plasma cannons, salvaged from Volfax wreckage, cut through alien battleships with lethal efficiency. Reuben monitored the battlefield from the Artemis. Target their central energy grid. Without power, their shields and weapons are useless. Yes, sir, Roberts replied, directing the fleet's bombers. On the ground, Viridian Prime cities fell into chaos. As human forces landed, they unleashed weapons the Galactic Council had dismissed as crude. Thermobaric bombs detonated with terrifying force, consuming entire military outposts in a storm of fire and pressure. Cluster munitions tore through enemy formations, leaving no place to hide. Reuben's holographic display flickered, revealing a transmission from Grackner. The councilman's face was a mask of desperation. Captain Diaz, we surrender. Cease your assault. Reuben leaned forward, his expression cold. Surrender was an option when you attacked Earth. Now, you'll face the consequences of that choice. Grackner's eyes widened. You'll doom us all. The Council's unity is fragile. If Viridian Prime falls, the galaxy will descend into chaos. Reuben's voice was ice. Then you should have thought of that before mocking us. He cut the transmission and turned to Roberts. Deploy the ground teams. Neutralize their command centers. On the planet's surface, Major Ryan Cole led the first wave of human marines. Their hybrid combat suits, reinforced with alien alloys, allowed them to withstand enemy fire while delivering devastating counterattacks. Armed with railguns and flamethrowers, the Marines carved a path through the Council's defenses. In one skirmish, Cole and his team stormed a Volfax bunker. Plasma fire scorched the air, but the Marines advanced with ruthless efficiency. Cole's voice boomed through the comms. No survivors. We send a message today. Within minutes, the bunker was reduced to rubble. Cole surveyed the destruction, his expression hard. They thought we were ants. Let's show them the strength of a swarm. Back in orbit, the Vanguard targeted Viridian Prime's capital city. Its railguns locked onto the Council's central spire, a towering symbol of their dominance. Clark's voice came through the comms. Captain Diaz, we have a clear shot at the spire. Orders. Reuben hesitated for the first time. Destroying the spire would shatter the Council's authority, but it would also leave the galaxy vulnerable to chaos. Roberts stepped forward. Sir, we've made our point. The Council is on its knees. If we go any further, Reuben's gaze hardened. We can't afford half measures, Lieutenant. Fire. The Vanguard's railguns roared, their projectiles tearing through the spire. The explosion lit up the night sky, visible even from space. On the ground, Council members scrambled for cover as their seat of power crumbled around them. In the aftermath, Reuben opened a secure channel to the remnants of the Council. Grackner, bloodied and broken, appeared on the screen. You've proven your point, Grackner croaked. Humanity is not to be trifled with, but at what cost? You've sown fear and chaos across the galaxy. Reuben's expression was unreadable. Perhaps fear is what the galaxy needs. Consider this your final warning. Humanity will not be mocked, attacked, or underestimated again. He ended the transmission and turned to Roberts. Order the fleet to withdraw. Leave them to pick up the pieces. As the human ships departed, Viridian Prime lay in ruins, its once pristine cities reduced to ash. The Galactic Council, fractured and humbled, faced an uncertain future. On board the Artemis, Reuben stood alone on the observation deck, staring out at the stars. He knew this victory was just the beginning. Humanity had sent its message, but the galaxy's response was far from certain. "We've made our move," Reuben said quietly. "Now let's see who has the courage to make the next one." The skies above Earth were deceptively serene as the fleet returned, their ships marked with the scars of a hard-won campaign. Captain Reuben Diaz, seated in his quarters aboard the Artemis, gazed at the holographic projections of the latest reports. Victory had been achieved, but its weight pressed heavily on his shoulders. Lieutenant John Roberts entered, saluting briskly. "Sir, the fleet is back in formation and damage reports are coming in. Casualty rates are significant." Reuben nodded, his gaze distant. "Victory always has a cost, John. What about Viridian Prime? Any communications from the Council remnants?" "They've gone silent," Roberts replied, his voice tight. "No official response yet. Their entire infrastructure is in chaos. Some of their member worlds have already declared independence." Reuben leaned back, exhaling slowly. "So, the galaxy fractures while Earth becomes a beacon of strength or a target of fear." He fixed Roberts with a piercing look. "We've shifted the balance of power, John. But balance doesn't hold for long." In the ruins of Viridian Prime, Councilman Grackner stumbled through the rubble of the once mighty council spire. His robes, once symbols of authority, were tattered and bloodied. Around him, survivors sifted through debris, their faces etched with shock and despair. Grackner's aide, a wiry creature named Jarek, approached hesitantly. "Councilman, most of the council has either fled or gone into hiding. The alliance, it's broken." Grackner growled, his voice hoarse. "Broken but not dead. We underestimated the humans once. We won't make that mistake again." He turned to the scorched horizon, his reptilian eyes narrowing. "Mark my words, Jarek. They may have won the battle, but their recklessness will ignite fires across the stars. Fires they cannot control. On Earth, celebrations erupted as news of the victory spread. Cities that had survived the Volfax attack were draped in banners of unity, their streets filled with jubilant crowds. But for the soldiers returning home, the mood was far more subdued. At a military outpost in the Rockies, Major Ryan Cole stood by a memorial wall bearing the names of the fallen. His battle-worn face reflected a mixture of pride and sorrow. "Hell of a fight," muttered Sergeant Ethan Ward, joining him. Cole nodded. "We showed them what humanity is capable of, but it doesn't feel like a win, does it?" Ward shook his head. "No, too many good people lost. And the galaxy won't forget what we did." Cole's jaw tightened. "Good. Let them remember. Fear can keep the wolves at bay." Meanwhile, aboard the Artemis, Reuben met with a select group of Earth's leaders via secure holographic link. The room was dim, the glow of the projections casting eerie shadows. A stern-faced diplomat, Secretary General Helena Carter, spoke first. "Captain Diaz, your actions have elevated Earth's standing in the galaxy, but they've also made us a target. How do you propose we handle the fallout?" Reuben straightened. "By preparing for it. The Council is in shambles, but it won't stay that way forever. We need to fortify our defenses, expand our fleet, and forge alliances with other species who share our cause, or fear the Council's return." Another leader, Minister Roderick Kane, frowned. "And if those species see us as conquerors rather than protectors?" Reuben's gaze was unflinching. "Then we remind them that humanity doesn't seek conquest, only respect. But if they challenge us, we'll answer with the same resolve that brought down Viridian Prime." The room fell silent, each leader absorbing the gravity of his words. In the following weeks, the repercussions of humanity's retaliation rippled across the galaxy. Reports came in of rebellions on Council-lined worlds, their populations emboldened by Earth's defiance. Smaller species, long oppressed by the Galactic Council, reached out to humanity, seeking protection or at least neutrality. Back on Viridian Prime, Grackner held a clandestine meeting with representatives from the Volfax and other surviving Council factions. The once mighty alliance was now a fractured coalition, united only by their mutual hatred for humanity. "We must rebuild," Grackner declared, his voice sharp, not as a council of equals, but as an armada with one purpose: vengeance. On Earth, Reuben watched these developments with a wary eye. Standing on the observation deck of the Artemis, he contemplated the fragile balance he had helped create. Roberts approached, breaking the silence. "Sir, initial designs for the next-generation fleet are ready. They're calling it the Aegis Initiative." Reuben nodded, his expression unreadable. "Good. We'll need it." Roberts hesitated before speaking again. "Do you think we did the right thing, sir? Bringing the fight to them?" Reuben turned to him, his eyes hardened by the weight of command. "They struck first, John. They mocked us, attacked us, and underestimated us. We showed them the cost of their arrogance. But whether it was right or not, history will decide that." In the quiet hours of the night, Reuben penned a letter to his son back on Earth, a boy too young to understand the weight of his father's choices. "Lucas, when you look up at the stars, know that they are not just distant lights. They are challenges, opportunities, and dangers. We fought today so you might one day explore them in peace. But peace is never guaranteed. It must be earned and defended. I hope you live in a galaxy that remembers the strength and determination of humanity not as a threat, but as a lesson." As he finished the letter, Reuben gazed out at the endless void, the stars twinkling like fragments of shattered glass. He knew the legacy of Earth's retaliation would echo for generations, an indelible mark on the galaxy's history. And though the battles ahead loomed large, one truth remained clear: humanity would endure.